Welcome in, whiskey freaks, to the Blind Tasting Podcast, your number one attitudinal bourbon destination. I'm John Stark, and I'll be bringing you whiskey news and opinions and my reviews on the industry and the products they've been bringing us for hundreds of years. All right, whiskey freaks, before we get started today, I gotta come clean. Truth be told, I've been lying to y'all. Yeah, I've been hiding the truth from everybody. For 3 seasons, countless hours of podcasting, hundreds of stories. I wrote a book about bourbon and whiskey. I mean, I've driven to liquor stores and gas stations and bottle shops and sketchy little places off the highway, all across this great nation. I've stood in lines. I've stood in snakes. I've overpaid. I've waited for drops. I've chased bottles like a lunatic. And today is the day I finally shoot straight with all you loyal listeners, all you whiskey freaks. Truthfully, I just don't like bourbon whiskey anymore. I mean, let's be real. It's hot, and most of it, okay, all of it, tastes like burnt rubber and sadness. I mean, truly, some of it tastes and smells like a smoldering car fire. I'm just done with it. And I just had to let you know the truth. My truth. Bourbon whiskey has got to go. Yeah, no, that is total BS, guys. You think I'd be doing all this if I didn't absolutely love this stuff? You think I'd spend my free time sniffing glasses, arguing about mash bills and explaining mouthfeel to strangers on the internet if bourbon didn't have a permanent grip on my soul? No chance, guys. Today, as always, we're doing nothing but bourbon-y goodness. The good stuff, the brown spirits. So pour yourself something decent, settle in, and let's get after it. I got lots of good stuff to get through today, including Still630. Have you ever heard of these cats? Well, they've got a Patriotic release coming your way just in time for the 250th birthday of America. I'm going to tell you about some new fancy Rickhouses. They're being built, and I want to tell you all about them. And finally, I'm going to review something that's still out there. And I want to try to figure out, is it out there because it's crap? Did they just produce too many of these bottles? Or is it good stuff? Well, we're going to find out today when I review the 2024 Yellowstone Limited Edition finished in cognac and brandy casks. Okay, before I really get into gear, I'm already kind of fired up, guys. I need to get something off my chest, and just bear with me for 1 minute here, guys. Just give me that 1 minute here before we get into the episode, because I'm pretty pissed off right now at our good friends at Facebook. Yeah, you know, Meta, the algorithm overlords. Yeah, they just decided here in January 2026. You've probably seen it on the news. They've decided that millions of pages across Al Gore's amazing internet, they're dangerous. Say what? Including the Blind Tasting Podcast page. It's just too dangerous to recommend to folks. Now, hear me out. My posts, they still exist. They're still out there. My followers, all you guys, you can still see them. But here's the problem. New people, forget about it. Their magical pages you may be interested in, their system, it's disabled for all of us. Why? Well, because apparently alcohol content is a risk to all of humanity, according to Meta, Facebook. Okay, let me tell you guys, I follow all the rules. I got the proper age restrictions. I got no violations. I put clean content out on Facebook and Instagram. And still, I'm in the same boat as everybody else. Meta just decided, we're not going to help the whiskey freaks grow organically. So for us alcohol-related folks, whether that be other podcasts, companies that sell alcohol, distilleries, the organic reach is quite possibly going to be dead. And if you're thinking about sharing bourbon with a friend for the first time, well, too bad, because they probably won't even see it. Look, this isn't some type of a suspension. It's not a penalty. It's the new rules at Meta, and it's Meta being ridiculous. And I kind of get it. I mean, they don't want to recommend alcohol-related pages to toddlers, right? Even when we're doing everything right. So my page isn't broken. It's just invisible to new people. And that's their choice at Meta, to hide mine and so many others. So thousands upon thousands, possibly millions of alcohol, bourbon podcast, all of it. I'm sure you listen to The Mashup. I'm sure you listen to Bourbon Pursuit. I mean, you listen to these other guys. There are a few of the ones that I respect. For the most part, they're going to have the same trouble. And I think the guys on Pursuit, they talked about that too. We're all getting the shaft here. And if you rely on the algorithm to grow your audience, and I do to a certain degree, guess what? You're screwed. So here's the reality. Facebook doesn't care about bourbon lovers. They care about lawyers, they care about bots, and they care about money. So I've got a call to action for you folks, for all the whiskey freaks. If we want new folks in our corner, we can't wait for them to help us out. Meta's not going to help us out here, guys. This is where you guys come in. I need you to share my posts. When I post something to Facebook and Instagram, please share it. I know a lot of you are liking it. We're having great conversations. It's been amazing. Please share the posts. Share this episode. Tag your friends. DM them. Email them. Whatever the hell it takes. And not just my podcast. Do it for everybody else too. We're all in this boat. Organic growth isn't going to come from Meta. It's going to come from us. We're not sitting around waiting for Meta to do the right thing, because they're not going to. It's Meta. It's what is it? Zuckerberg, whatever the hell he is. If you're listening, you know someone else who should be listening here. So tell them, share this, spread the word. Please, don't let Meta control your bourbon life, and don't let them slow down the Blind Tasting Podcast and all the others. Share, tag, tell everybody you know, and let's show Meta what happens when whiskey freaks fight back. All right, whiskey freaks, I opened with Still630. Still630 is here in St. Louis, and they've got a Patriotic. I know I've been kind of St. Louis heavy lately, but this is something both related to St. Louis and the entire country. And they've got a Patriotic release coming your way just in time for the country's 250th birthday party. And this one, well, it's near and dear to my heart because it hits, well, close to my home here in St. Louis. Still630. That's the zip codes in our and the area here all start with 630 if you're over on the Missouri side. They are Still, Still 630, and they're a Midwest craft distillery located in downtown St. Louis. And they just announced that they're launching what they call the Indomitable Spirit of America, 250th birthday bourbon. And it's going to be a limited series of rare single barrel bottled in bond releases celebrating the United States 250th birthday. Now, the first bottle dropped last month, and they're going to be releasing a new barrel on the first Friday of every month throughout the year. And each release is going to tie back to a key moment in American history, and it comes with a removable collectible gold coin, very cool, engraved to match that particular moment in time. So that's a nice touch for both drinkers and coin collectors, really. And it's going to be the same mash bill across the entire series, but each barrel is going to show off its own personality based on how it aged, which they say is exactly how single barrels should work. Well, duh. Still630 is also hosting, if you're nearby, monthly tastings at the distillery, so you can actually try them as they come out before you buy them. So this is big news for folks outside Missouri, too. They're partnering with a regional distributor, and they're going to ship select bottles nationwide, starting with that first release from last month. So it isn't just a St. Louis thing anymore. I know you guys feel like I'm heavy on St. Louis, which kind of makes sense. Here I am. But it's because this is going to be a release nationwide, at least regional anyway. So This one's got local roots, which I love. It's got national history, which I love history, and real bourbon craftsmanship, which is what they're doing down at Still630. So I also want to talk about something that actually matters when it comes to the future of bourbon. And, that's where the bourbon sleeps, right? Where it rests, where it ages, the Rickhouse. Now, there's a company called Whiskey House of Kentucky, and they just wrapped, and I didn't know much about this company. I was very excited to read about this and learn about this. So I'm going to share it with you. Whiskey House of Kentucky, they just wrapped construction on a brand new 7-story rickhouse, kind of makes me think of Deatsville, in Elizabethtown. And this thing is not, they're calling it, not your granddaddy's barrel warehouse. And you might be asking, who the hell is Whiskey House? I was asking the same thing. I've heard of Green River, I've heard of MGP, everybody's heard of Beam and Heaven Hill, all those cats. But I've never heard of Whiskey House. Well, you're not alone if you hadn't heard of them either. Most folks have never heard of these guys. And that's due to, a number of reasons. Whiskey House of Kentucky is a very different animal compared to most distilleries people think of. And that's where a lot of the confusion and the curiosity comes from. First of all, Whiskey House does not have a house brand. Zero. They got nothing with their name on the label. They are a custom whiskey production distillery. They're built specifically to make bourbon and rye for other brands. So they're producing for other folks. And that means for startups, established brands that want additional capacity, or companies that want very tight control over the mash bill, the yeast, the fermentation distillery. They can craft that from the ground up for you, how you want it distilled, how you want it aged. And that means if you're a small guy or you don't have to build your own distillery, you can and non-distiller producer right with Whiskey House, right? Now, they opened operations on July 1st, 2024, so they're damn near brand new. And they're in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and the scale there is what they're calling massive. The facility is about 110,000 square foot, and it's designed more like an advanced food manufacturing plant than a traditional craft distillery. They say everything from grain handling to fermentation to the distillation process, it's highly automated, and it runs on proprietary software, and they're operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So their claim to fame is consistency and repeatability, and that's the name of the game for these guys at Whiskey House. Now, one of their biggest selling points is flexibility. I mentioned that just a few minutes ago. Whiskey House, they can run a wide range of mash bills. They can run whatever recipe you want, and they're built to switch between them very efficiently. So they're very agile. That was a big word not too long ago, right? Agile. Everybody had to be agile. Remember that shit? Since opening, they've already produced more than 130,000 barrels across, this is crazy, 59 different mash bills and recipes. To me, that's insane for such a short period of time. And what that tells you is they really are built for that flexibility and that agility to change and to produce exactly what you want and how you want it. It's especially good for the brands that want to experiment, scale quickly, or lock in like a specific liquid profile for the long haul. And now you see here where it all comes together, because on the aging side, I mentioned their Rickhouses. Whiskey House is investing heavily in infrastructure, which is where these new, they're calling them K-RAX, K-RAX Rickhouses, and that's where that comes in. They're planning a total of 12 warehouses over the next decade, and each of them are going to hold 48,000 barrels. So they're not the biggest rickhouse, but they're also not a small rickhouse. And these are designed to improve airflow, reduce vapor buildup, which is good, right? Less explosions. Talk to Heaven Hill about fire. Enhance maturation performance, and they're going to improve worker safety, all while being structurally stronger. And they hope that these are going to actually last longer than the traditional wooden rickhouses. Another key thing to understand here is that Whiskey House is closed to the public. They got no tours. They got no gift shop. Sorry, guys. I don't know if they're on the Kentucky. I guess they wouldn't be on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail at this point. They got no tasting room. And they say that's intentional. They want to stay out of the retail and the tourism game. So clearly they're not on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. And what they're saying is that helps them to avoid conflicts of interest with the brands they produce for. Their entire focus there at Whiskey House is on making whiskey to someone else's spec and doing it at a very high level. Now back to the K-RAX warehouse. They just completed their first of, like I said, 12 warehouses they plan to build, and each one is going to hold 48,000 barrels, just slightly, I think, over 48,000 barrels. And what they're saying is, more importantly, it's built using something called K-RAX barrel storage technology. And this is the coolest part to me. Everything's being mechanized and automated. And that's all about what they say is going to be all about improving maturation, increasing safety, and making sure these warehouses last longer without falling apart or catching fire. Now, one of the biggest upgrades that they've focused on here is airflow. And I'm not going to bore you with all the techno words, and I really want to wrap this up because basically, they built one of 12 new K-RAX warehouses. But I'm not going to bore you with the techno words and all the gizmos they used. But suffice it to say, better airflow. Yada yada yada. Alcohol vapor, blah blah blah. Alcohol is heavier than air. All that good stuff. And structurally, they say these warehouses are built with southern yellow pine that's glue laminated. That's fascinating to me. It's heat treated and it's kiln dried, and they say it makes it stronger and resistant to insect damage too. So that's cool. They say this new Rickhouse setup just reinforces the fact that these cats at Whiskey House are playing the long game, and they're doing it intentionally. God, everybody's got to say intentionally, right? I couldn't find a cost comparison for these K-RAX Rickhouses against a traditional Rickhouse. I'm assuming it costs a lot more to build a K-RAX Rickhouse than a traditional one. But I know a typical standard or a traditional warehouse can run anywhere nowadays from $1 to $3 million. And if it's metal, I think the cost can run as high as $5 million in some cases. So keep that in mind. It depends on the size, the materials, all the features that it has inside of it. These K-RAX ones evidently have a lot of bells and whistles. But I figure if you can build about the same size and functioning rickhouse, make it safer, maybe make it last longer, that sounds good to me. It's not my money. If I hear any more on these K-RAX rickhouses or anything else from our good friends at Whiskey House, I'll let y'all know. All right, Whiskey Freaks, let's get to the fun part now, my review. And today, I'm cracking open a brand spanking new to me bottle of 2024 Yellowstone Limited Edition straight bourbon whiskey, finished in cognac and brandy casks. And I know guys, I know right away what you're thinking. Stark, that shit's expensive. And, well, yeah, you're kind of right. Sort of. I mean, I paid $109 for it here in my town. And here's the reason for that. Or at least part of the reason I'm reviewing it today. It is findable. Is that a word, findable? Yeah, you can still find this stuff. And it's right around anywhere from 100, which is MSRP, to 120. And you can find it. But it's a limited edition, which I normally, and I've mentioned this to many people, I don't normally migrate towards limited editions. But in this case, I had some extra cash in the wallet, and I thought, well, what the hell? I really like the good folks down at Limestone Branch Distillery. Been down there a few times. I didn't need a payday loan or have to pawn my grandpa's pocket watch to pick this bottle up. So here we are. Now, this is an annual release, and it's been a tradition at Limestone Branch Distillery since 2015. And this year's version was created, as always, by master distiller Stephen Beam. The 2024 edition I'm holding right here blends 7-year-old and 17-year-old bourbons and features Beam's first ever double finish. And they used French brandy and cognac casks to double finish it. This bourbon is bottled at 101 proof, and it was released in September 2024. And they only released 10,000 cases, guys, nationwide. And like I said, the MSRP was $100. Now, according to Beam, The double finishing process was chosen to complement the natural flavors of the extra-aged bourbon while adding new layers of complexity. And today I'm tasting with a Glencairn, my favorite limestone branch Glencairn, actually. Very fitting today to use for this limestone branch product. And I promise that won't impact my opinion at all. Alrighty, let me crack this bottle open, guys. I love the fact that this bottle is easy to open. 2 little slits with the pocket knife here, and hopefully I can just twist it. There we go. Let me pour some of this. And full disclosure, I've had a few of the previous limited edition releases. 2021, 2022, I think I missed 2023, and now I've got this 2024 here in my hot little hands. And you're probably wondering, how do you remember whether you tasted these before? Well, that's because I use a notebook, guys. Get yourself a notebook. Write this stuff down. We ain't getting any younger. Let's face it, if you got 4 or 5 pours in you, are you really going to remember all the things you drank? Just grab a notebook. Write it down. You'll thank me later. I've got my Heaven Hill notebook right here, and I'm going to make notes as we go along today. So the color. I'm going to jump right into this bad boy. Let me move it around in the glass here. Like I said, down here in the bunker, I've got an ample amount, or a ridiculous amount of lighting. Oh, and yeah, like I always say, don't judge the color of the liquid in the bottle alone. This bottle, the label is not very big, and you could probably actually get a fairly decent idea of what you're working with here, looking at it in the bottle. But like I say, you got to pour it in a glass to really evaluate it. I would say this one is like an orangish kind of amber color. It's unique to say the least, and I wonder if all that finishing and those extra casks it'd have to be impacting the color here. We know that that your barrel, I know a lot of people will say 70%, but it's at least 50% of the color or more. So yeah, orangey-ish, like amber in color. All right, let's jump into the glass and get a little nosing on this one here. Damn, this is wow, this is like it's like a thick apple pie kind of cinnamon hit right away for me, like pie crust. It's nice, like a nice brown and crunchy, delicious pie crust. And there's this caramel, like a caramel apple maybe. It's bready. It's brown sugary. I don't know if that's that caramel apple thing coming through. It's a little touch of vanilla in here too. There's lots and lots going on here, kids. And I'm trying to control myself from prejudging this one, but I gotta be honest with you. The nose, it's got me hooked. Let me take a sip. Wow. There's more oak in here than I figured off that nosing. I'm getting this, wow. Getting this warm hug. It hits you right away, and you're feeling every bit of that 101 proof. Right here on the first sip, it's peppery, it's warm, and it's very sweet. All signs are pointing to good at this point. Let me get another sip. Oh shit, before I do that, I forgot about mouthfeel and the legs. So let me swirl this around in my glass a little bit. Still got plenty in here. I'm moving it back and forth in the Glencairn. And I'm getting decent legs here. It's got a good amount of viscosity. And that makes sense, I guess, because the mouthfeel is decent too. I should mention that. In fact, I'm still enjoying that mouthfeel here. What, a good 30, 60 seconds after my first sip. So it's really coating the inside of my mouth. And like I said, I got a warm hug on the way down. So far, so good. I got nothing to complain about. So now let me get that second sip. Do that Kentucky chew. Yeah, that baking spice, I guess, with that I'm talking about pie and caramel and apple. That baking spice is very strong here. And right alongside it, that caramel I talked about. And the fruit is here. Guys, I'm not a pro here, but it's like apple or pear or maybe both. Either way, it's a very nice complement to that oakiness. And I'm guessing that 17-year-old barrel influence in here, and nowhere could I find the percentages. You know, this has got 7-year in it, and it's got 17-year in it. So I don't know how they balanced the ages out, but you can definitely taste the influence from that 17-year-old whiskey in here. Let me take one more sip. Yeah, I can't ignore. I got it. And it's funny because I didn't get this at the beginning here, but I've been tasting for a minute or two, three. Can't ignore here that there is a tinge of an orangey note. And you know how much I dig an orange citrusy note in my bourbon. So another good sign here. Hell, I need one more sip. Okay, so here on the finish, that warmth that I got on my first sip, it's still coming through even. What is this, the fourth sip? And along with that peppery oak note I really think that there is a little bit of leather in here, a very pleasant, sweet leather. There's so much going on here, guys. And I suppose that makes sense since we're talking about 7 and 17-year-old whiskey blended, the extra casks aging. But you're probably wondering, what's the verdict? Well, I'll have the answer right after the money spot. Hey, whiskey freaks. Quick announcement here. I wrote a book. Yeah, me, a real book with real stories. It's called Whiskey Wisdom and Bourbon BS. Barrel strength, legends, lies, and untold tales. And it's packed with dozens of wild, weird whiskey tales from the strangest corners of bourbon history. And every chapter ends with one question. Was it whiskey wisdom or was it BS? You want to learn about whiskey history and have fun while you're doing it? Well, then you need to grab this book. It's just $10 on Amazon Kindle. It's cheap, it's fun, and all the cool kids are doing it. So don't be left out because you want to be cool too, right? Did I mention it's just $10? Yeah, and you can read it on any device with the free Amazon Kindle app. Just hit the link in the show notes, grab a pour, grab the book, and enjoy the whiskey history. That's Whiskey Wisdom and Bourbon BS. Barrel strength, legends, lies, and untold tales. All right, so if you listen to the Blind Tasting Podcast, you know there are 3 possible verdict options. Are we going to keep it, collect it, or cull it? To keep it means to proudly display it in your liquor cabinet or up on your shelf or in your bar. This stuff is good for a pour pretty much any time, but there's no need to get a whole bunch of it because it's always available. Collect it. You're going to want to grab another bottle or maybe 2 since you find it so damn delicious, or it just may not be easy to get your hands on. And finally, cull it. Use it to loosen rusty bolts or sanitize a dirty toilet. In the case of 2024 Yellowstone Limited Edition, straight, this is a mouthful, straight bourbon whiskey finished in cognac and brandy casks, I say, collect it. Yeah, now I don't often say collect it. In fact, I almost never say it, but this is an exception. And this is an exceptional bourbon. Look, Limestone Branch, they clearly took a lot of care in bringing this one to us. And I mean, just because somebody cares a lot, that doesn't always equal good. But this is fantastic. It's got all those notes, the spice, the oak, the cinnamon, the fruit. And at 101 proof, it's kind of in that sweet spot where just about anybody would enjoy it. New, old, bourbon snobs, everybody pretty much can enjoy it. And everybody can afford it at $100. Look around. I'm telling you, if I can find it in basically my backyard here at MSRP or $10 over MSRP, so can you. You're still going to see it on the shelves, guys. And by the way, be on the lookout for the 2025 version of the limited edition. It dropped, again, I think they drop every year in September, so it would have dropped September, just a few months back. And truthfully, I haven't I haven't looked for it yet, but I will now. It's going to be their 10th anniversary bottle, and I believe it's a slightly higher proof than this one. This one's 101. I think that one's going to be 105. And if this one here is any indication, and remember, I've had the 2021, the 2022, now the 2024. These are all bangers, and they're all affordable. So let me know what y'all think. Shoot me a DM like, the cool kids, they shoot DMs, right? Or email me at blindtastingpodcast@yahoo.com because I'm an old dude. Let me know, do you like it? Have you gotten your hands on it or the 2025? Either way, this one, the 2024 limited edition Yellowstone, 101 proof, it's a collect it. And remember, they only sent out 10,000 cases of it. So I know that sounds like a lot, and it probably is more than what I'm thinking. That would be what, 60, either 40,000 or 60,000 bucks. It's worth $100. Oh, and hell, I forgot to mention my bottle is bottle number 06240 for whatever that's worth. All right, guys. Well, real quick before I go, I want to give a shout out to a super cool listener, Jared. He dropped off a couple samples of something he found to be fascinating, and he thought it was special whiskey. And so he dropped these off a few days ago. I do plan on getting to those samples pretty soon, but it's going to have to be just our little secret for right now. Now I'm going to get me another pour of this stuff. Hang with me. This stuff is so balanced. It is so delicious. I really think y'all are going to love this one. And last but not least, I also got to give a shout out to the farmers, the distillery production guys and gals busting their asses, the warehouse workers, the bottlers, and especially you truck drivers. You guys are the ones that make it happen. So cheers to all of y'all. I'll see you next time.